All right, people of faith, let's take another walk. Let's talk on the subject of, oh, wow, I want to say a twisted mind, but okay, let's break down a twisted mind, or I guess you get to the extent of saying psychotic or and so forth, or different ways for the mind to be twisted or to be perverse or perverted or that sort of thing. But here's the thing: is a mind is, or we could say, or less for a less extent, we could say a mind is considered confused. A confused mind actually can present itself to be stable, which means a person could be so involved in indecision or being indecisive. If is indecision, is that it is? Or being indecisive, that they could be so in tune or so unmovable in there that it could become convincing that they're willing to make a solidified stance on which direction they want to go. Can be actually they could present themselves to be confident, and that it would seem like, okay, it's a good thing. It's okay. This is something of a good positioning. But actually, let's break it down. Let's talk about being a twisted mind, a confusion, perverse, and all that good stuff. You could wrap all that into one bowl by saying all that is just an individual soul. And once again, the soul consists of the mind, the will, the emotion, intellect, and imagination. What is that to say about a twisted, perverse, or confused, or we would say disturbed, what that type of mind, or even to the extent of a person could say they're bipolar. We could put all that together: schizophrenia, psychotic, any of that form. It's considered unbalancement. Unbalancement is basically the soul hasn't picked a side, which way it wants to go. If it want to go to positive, if it want to go to negative, if it want to go to love, if it want to go to fear, if it wants to go to torment, if it want to go towards peace, it haven't picked a side. And picking a side is basically picking the road that ultimately that road always comes out, that verdict, or that that outcome or the results always the same. So if a person so for example, if a person pick out the road to be balanced, I guess you could say balanced with being positive, or being with love, or being with peace, then therefore they will pick that road that by all means, by accounts, their soul would defend that role. In other words, they're not going to place their soul in a position that will be, or in a position of the opposite. Give an example. I say if I'm choosing life or I'm choosing peace. Let's stay on the subject of peace. So, like, if I'm going to choose peace for my life, which means that no matter if it's me trying to go to sleep, or if it's me going to work, or if it's me having a conversation with people, if it's me being in a toxic environment, I'm the goal is to stay in peace. And no matter what situation, I want the peace to be my balance, right? That's going to be my guide. So, what would I have to do to maintain that balance or maintain that peace? Is that I personally have to be in a position where I put my soul where it's in line with peace. Let's say peace is an island of its own. Okay? If peace is an island, that means it has nothing to do with anything that is of hurt, harm, or danger, right? So if I'm going to be in peace, I'm going to have to put my soul in a place where there is no hurt, harm, or danger. Or, and to a greater extent, we could say to be killed, steal, or destroyed. Right? So if I want to stay in perfect peace, I will put my spirit. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I will put my. I will place my soul in things of righteousness, joy, and peace. Right? Now, where's righteousness, joy, and peace? That's where we would say that's in the Holy Spirit. In other words, that's in the spirit of God. So God gives us like this shelter that we can go into, and we can actually place our soul inside of it, where there is no hurt, harm, or danger, or like what was said, on a larger extent, to be killed, steal, or destroyed. Right. So that's how we're going to maintain an upkeep, or uh, a balance of peace. Is keeping our peace in a fortress of perfection, versus being scattered. Now, for a soul that is considered perverse or psychotic, or they may it be diagnosed or defined as schizophrenia or so forth, or even bipolar, which means their soul haven't made a decision if it's going to be in peace or not, or is going to choose the avenue that is of righteousness, joy, and peace, or has it chosen, or is really indecisive, or is really, let's make it plain, it hasn't made a decision if it wants to be where to be killed, steal, and destroy is, or where hurt, harm, and danger is. It haven't made a decision to step away from all of that and go over to the other side where there's righteousness, joy, and peace. Let's say it this way: where kill, steal, and destroy is, the majority will be. Don't ask me why. Well, I can tell you why. We could break that down in a second. But wherever righteousness, joy, and peace is like a minority of a gathering. The reason why a soul, or why the soul, or a person will put their soul, let's say it that way, why a person will put their soul in a position to be killed, steal, and destroyed, more likely they are entitled to debt, to sin, which means they are willing to be a slave, and the slave is basically to be a follower. Correct. So if you're going to be a leader, I'm not saying that a leader is going to stand among the pack. It does have it walks its own footprints. So it's not trying to walk its footprints of destruction or whatnot, but it's walking towards its footprints towards a positive aspect. But if you're going to be a follower, majority where misery is, or where the gathering of the people is where misery will be. This is where you get the drama, the 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 latest conversation, or the latest confusion. This is where torment is, right? The reason why there's such a gathering, because they go in other words, the invitation to that gathering is based off of deception. What I mean by that is that it is advertised as like this is the place to be. It will it A place of misery, a place of confusion will always have the glitz and glamour on it. Why? Because that's the only way it can draw you in, to make it to appear that it's good. Let's say, for example, back when I was involved with pornography, excuse me, there were certain main avenues, or certain main streets, that will have like adult bookstores or something like that, right? And when it was real heavy for me, you know, you want to be discreet as much as possible. Of let because it to be seen to go into an environment like that, you are perverse, right? Because of the whole thing. It Pornography is just perversion by self, which is basically the mind is not in peace. Okay, so if that building is like sitting on an island, like on the main strip, where you have, say, local gas stations, general stores, and so forth, different other things, right? For for that place of uh, for a lesser extent, let's call it business. For that place of business to draw attention, it has to advertise something to draw people in, particularly when it's on a street where the other businesses is not catered to something that's considered perverse. You go into a gas station to get gas because you put in your vehicle, so forth. You put it towards a necessity, towards an engine. So, or you go into a convenience store to buy, beverages or something like that. That's for basically to feed you. So to go to a store that actually is to see people do something that is an invasion. For me, let's say for example, if I were to go to somebody's window and watch a married couple or a couple, yeah, let's say a married couple, have relations or whatever, that would consider me being perverse, right? Because that is like an invasion of their privacy. Even if I was invited, even if they gave me the invitation, say, hey, you can come watch us, that is perverse. Why? Because that is a private situation between that person and that man and that woman, right? That's it's perverse when you invite someone in. So if I were to go to an adult store, it's perverse for me to go in because the display, what is advertising, is is supposedly be in honor of that man and that woman, or that woman and that man. If and I say that woman and that man versus two men or two women, and why I said that because and why it's considered perverse of homosexuality and lesbianism, and why it's considered perverse because you can't reproduce. It's pretty disturbed if you can't serve your purpose. Take a person who's in prison. They have nobody around them. They're in solitary confinement. They're just in prison. What purpose do they serve? Take a person who was in quarantine in the house for several weeks or a month or whatever the extent of the time. What purpose do they serve? So, what the point of what I'm saying is, if I'm going to go to an adult bookstore, whatever that whoever orchestrated, whoever constructed it, whatever, for a place of business, for a place of enticement, for a place of whatever their intentions are, they're gonna have to draw me in. So what, in other words, is they're gonna have to make something that's disturbed or perverse to be appealing. So they're not just gonna show you a picture on the window, a man and a woman, you know, being intimate or having relations. They're not gonna show you that. They can't by law. They can't do it. Another reason why, because it is considered an invasion of privacy. So, but however, how it works, if you go in there, they're saying you are on your own, you by your own merit, by your own validity, by your own choice, the soundness of your mind, you chose to come in here. But with that being said, I say all that to say perversion, schizophrenia, and all that's whatever, to be going back to being twisted or and that sort of thing, the being unbalanced, is based upon the soul having made a decision. It's torn between two roads, torn to be of love or torn to be of fear, or torn to be of love or torn to be of hate. It's torn. It hasn't made a solidified decision to be of love. Let's say, for example, if the soul is going to be of love, that means there is no limit. Love has no condition. There is no such thing of conditional love. Conditional love is a way of is a way to bring a gray area to where love is, or for a soul not to make a decision between love or hate. It's a conditional thing, right? I mean, not a conditional thing. It's a gray area. I apologize for that. So when a person says conditional love, there is no such thing as conditional love. Love is 100% certainty. In other words, love has no limit. Conditions means there's a limit to whatever that the situation may present. Is a limit. So if I'm gonna love someone conditionally, I have a limit, and normally that limit is to protect you from what being hurt, harm, or danger. So, but love has no fear. See, that's why love can't be conditional. Love has no fear. Love is most powerful. Nothing can defeat love. The only thing is, the only way that love is not operated in its full capacity is because the individual soul has to walk away from love. In other words, it has to be torn. It has to be split between being of love or being of hate, right? It can't, there's no way. It's like using some kind of electrical current. There's no way if you have a negative and a positive and you try to connect them together, you're gonna have a problem, right? So, but if you disconnect them, you can get a current. You can get yeah, you can get a current, so forth, and they both serve their purpose. But the point of me, what I'm saying is about that, is that if you're gonna be of love, then you can't be split. You can't be torn, because that will create what? A conditional love. Love has no limit. So peace has no limit. So if you're going to be select for, if you want the mind to be stable, you will have to be in a position where that is there. You know, your soul is going to be fed that. In other words, you're going to protect your investment. Your investment is your peace. You want to bring. So in other words, when it's time to go to sleep, when it's time to go to work, when it's time to be involved with the outside world, not being in it, in other words, conducting how they're conducted by the same mindset or the same spirit or so forth, but more so like for example, if you're going to work or you have to interact with this situation or that situation, and everybody, in most cases, they may not think or respond or believe how you are, so you have to conduct with the world that is maybe the opposite of where you are. So, I guess the direction where we're going is how do we stay balanced in the midst of a world that it may be personally or it may be uh, directed towards to derail you from peace. You have to surround yourself on a solid ground, which means is what are you listening to in your own individual closet, in your own individual space, when your own individual quiet time, when it's just you, there's no one else around you, and of course you're going to need your quiet time. So, what are you listening to in the midst of that? Are you being enlightened or are you being entertained? And what I mean by enlightenment, are you actually feeding your peace with peace? And what comes with peace is a package deal. It's righteousness and joy. So, what are you feeding your peace? Are you feeding it righteousness? Are you feeding it joy? So, if not, you're looking at a situation where you can fall off and your foundation won't be as solidified. So, in other words, you go to a point where you start off good and then you go bad because you're running out of gas. So, for a person, if they want to stay in perfect peace, they will solidify themselves by constantly surrounding themselves with that type of protection. If you have, if in most cases, it's unfortunate. Let's say if a person, uh, their treasure is, well, where a person's treasure is, that their heart will be there. In other words, their attentiveness, their dedication, their security, whatever that they're going to protect that investment. So in most cases for people is their money. We can honestly we would say, like in this ranking, we would say God, family, and and everything else, right? But in our reality, is money, maybe God, then family. maybe, but more likely in our civilization, money is number one. And ultimately, what we're saying is money is God. So money is a God, not the God. God is love, right? Let's make that clear. Well, at least let's say it this way: for the God that I serve, love is God, and I place nothing above love. Which is to say that there's no room for me for conditional love. So what if I'm not fully there where I'm fully solidified in being unconditional with my love? That becomes the work. That becomes the assignment. Let's get the things. This is where the Holy Spirit is where the Father works and does all the work, and it will point the soul in the direction where the soul will obtain that goal, which is to be in perfect love. And perfect love is to be in what? Perfect peace. So even though I went off the subject, but it's sort of mixed in together. Is still connected, and we're talking on how to have a stable mind, or the difference of a person or a soul having a confused mind, a perverse mind, and so forth, and all that, and not having that, having a stable mind, having a solid mind, a focused mind, and a balanced mind. Let's say it that way. That soul has to choose which role they want to be, and they got to stick. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve cold and hot. You're either going to serve cold or you're going to serve hot. You can't serve being good and serve being evil. You're going to serve good and stay there, which means you're going to fight off all temptations, all attempts, all seduction, all different things of evil. Just going to come. You have to fight that off. So to remain good. Otherwise, you're going to compromise the good for some evil, and when the little evil comes in, it's basically going to convince you to give up, to walk away from the good. Slowly but surely, you will find yourself walking away. And once you walk away, you are in darkness. You are in a pit that you can't even see good, and now there is no peace. Once evil is inside of you, you become the more. Let's say it this way: the more evil comes inside of you, the more you come inside of evil. Is a transference. It's a transition. Evil has to come inside of you for you to be one and the same. And once you become one and the same, you go inside of evil. Evil is a dimension. Let's say, say for example, evil is a dimension, and for you to enter into that dimension inside your soul, this is where a person becomes disturbed. This is where a person becomes psychotic and all these different things because they are in the reality of evil. That's where hurt, harm, and danger is. What kill, steal, and destroy is. That's where everything where love is not. This is where this place is. So how that works? How does evil works? Evil has to be invited into your soul. In other words, there has to be a connection between whatever that's evil and your soul giving it an invitation to be there. So once evil comes inside the soul, if it stays there long enough, in other words, it brings more of its buddies of that dimension. And all of a sudden, that's inside of your soul. And that spreads throughout your soul, so much so that you become one and the same. Becoming one and the same as evil, or with evil, is you basically, your soul is inside evil now. Evil is no longer inside of you. Evil has converted you over for you to come over to the other side. Now once you are of the other side, you are inside evil, and you're trying to get out of evil to get back to being good. That's why a person may say it like, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get right. I'm trying. They are actually inside evil. Evil is not inside of them. Evil started to be inside of them. And over time, it accumulated, it spread it, that it took over them. Now they are inside of evil. So that is the difference between being of a sound mind and all that, and all, a sound mind or have a disturbed mind. Uh, or a disturbed mind is a person who has given himself over to evil. Evil is an option. Now, the reason why they would say good things is not because they are one and the same with good. It's a deception. It's there to make it look like it's good because that's the only way it can draw something of good to come inside. Going back to the adult store, the only way that something that is considered disturbed that will be acceptable, it has to show you an idea that it is acceptable, or that it appears to be good. If you notice, the adult bookstore tries to dress itself up to look like a regular convenience store. Why? Because a regular convenience store is considered to be good. You're there to go purchase something for that very specific reason. You know, you outside of a person not being stable, you go into it. Let's say, for example, you go to a gas station to purchase gas or some motor oil, basically for the car. You're not get it to drink it. You're not get it to setting up nothing on fire. You're not get it to do anything else. Now, if that's not the intentions of the gas station to go for a person to go take that product and go do some harm with it or do something malicious or something like that. That's not the intent. So that place of business is considered a good merchant, right? It has a good place to trade because it is producing, or the production of it is to reproduce love, or to be care or to, of that regard. However, the adult store, the adult is not there to produce good. It's actually to take you away from good. Now, I'm not judging it per se. What I'm saying is I am putting it in its proper perspective. A person could say, well, I want to touch that. The reason why it's not considered producing good, because it the advertisement of it is inviting you to go into a place where it's supposed to be honorable. When a woman invites a man to be one with her, that's supposed to be of honor. The moment that it is considered a given, or it's like there is no honor attached to it, you talking about evil is inside that body. That's why it's considered an easy access. Take a person who has never been touched in that regard of sexual relations and so forth, in no form, no way. They're what it would, in a sense, they would be considered pure as the driven snow, so as the fallen snow, and it considered pure, right? So if they're pure, they have no experience of 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 any other way than how they have been until something on the outside comes in. So they deck is decorated to protect that purity, that innocence. It's decorated, but the moment that is violated, is no longer pure. It may try to go back to the form of that, but once it has been violated, it is considered. It's like a trespass. I mean, I'm gonna say a trespass. Forgive me for that. Uh, it's once it's considered violated or whatever, or once that innocence is broken, it's like it's an advertisement to be open for business. And what I mean by that, like once it's been violated or has been that regard, once harm has entered in, the soul is not made to digest or to meditate or to hold within anything of hurt, harm, or danger. This is the reason why unforgiveness and being bitter or and that sort of thing is not worthy enough to be inside the soul, because it is immediate destruction to the soul. And once the soul breaks down, the body breaks down. It is not that the body breaks down, then the soul breaks down. Once the soul breaks down, the body breaks down. So if the soul is not healthy, the body won't be healthy. You can do all the exercise and you can go through all the therapy all you want. You can do all the stuff that you want until that soul is restored, which is the purpose, which is actually the intent of a therapist, is that you're going to get rid of all the stuff that's not supposed to be there. This is why the dialogue is about, the whole conversation is about. Even when it comes to the questions, they're trying to get rid of all the roots of everything that's of toxicity or things that's not supposed to be there, regardless how far back that it is meant to be removed so the soul can actually go back to form of being healthy. Because the soul is not meant to hold anything of hurt, harm, or danger. So if a person has been violated in that regard sexually, or their soul is like it is damaged. So this is where, if the soul is damaged, it becomes the idea or the concept or the the point of interest becomes, I don't care. And if you don't care, that's showing, the fact is, that's how much hurt that is allowed still in that soul. Someone hasn't forgiven. Someone hasn't let go. It's one thing for a person to say, like, I forgive the person, and then they say, I won't forget. Well, then you haven't forgiven. It's still a part of you. And as long as it's a part of you, therefore you can't move you can't move no further. Now, right where you are, you may obtain what you consider some opportunities that may consider to be successful. But it's like walking around with a hole in your pocket. All those opportunities are gonna fall out. All those opportunities are gonna fall apart. So until that soul is back healthy, in other words, all the unforgiveness, all the let's say the things that you refuse to forget, that means it's unforgiveness. Until you become a higher person. In other words, let's say, for example, if a person did you wrong, and the rule of to survive, not the rule to have peace, but the rule to survive is like out of sight, out of mind. If I get that person's situation out of my mind, if I don't think about it, I'm good. But it's still there. The only way that it's removed is by love. You you will have to forgive that person, and forgiveness comes by forgetting. How do you forget something that constantly has been done? You walk